when it comes to the prioritizing, like, am I developing my business right now, or am I developing my spiritual life, or is it the right time for me to have a woman in my life? Realize that all of these are different things that you're doing in your life. They're different domains of your life, but all of them are incidental. What you're developing is the universal person, the individual. You say, like, the problem when you go to a new place is, like, you go with you. You're coming with you. That's the guy you should be working on the whole time. Businesses and jobs and different financial endeavors, they'll come and go throughout your life. You'll have all different kinds of them here and there. Different relationships with friends and family. Your spiritual practices are probably going to evolve and change. Your lovers, they're going to come and go in different phases of your life. It's going to look different. The real thing to develop is the guy underneath it all, and being the capable, engaged man that is developing and giving birth to the next better version of yourself over and over and over and over again. And then when you're doing that, you're very activated, and suddenly you have this, like, problem of, there's so much I could be doing, and I don't have enough time and attention, the ultimate resource, time and attention. I don't actually have enough to go around for all the things that I want to do. And then that becomes a whole new game of, like, well, I definitely want to have some intimate time with this girl, and I want to be developing this, and I've got this community of people that love it and everything. It's like, okay, well, then it's an optimization game, and it's a maximization game. You're putting in your inputs of time, energy, attention, resources of all different kinds. They're finite, what you can put into it. And you're looking for the strategic ways in which you can maximize the return of your experience and the experience of everybody around you. That's a guy that is leading his life and being really intentional. And it is going to be a day-by-day, spontaneously generative experience, in which the idea of controlling the outcome of a week is, like, not only does it seem silly to control external factors, it seems so limiting to try to control the internal factors. I want to be in the flow of the moment. I want to be letting that energy spontaneously create and dictate what's going to be experienced. I firmly believe for a long time that improvisation is actually the optimal experience of things. I'll share one little piece of, like, geeky information is irrational numbers in mathematics. So there's pi, which is like 3.1415, blah, 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 blah. We need it to be able to calculate the circumference of a circle and all that kind of a thing. So the irrational number is defined as non-terminating and non-repeating. So it just goes on forever and is, like, infinitely seemingly random to us, like, doesn't create a pattern. There are several of these irrational numbers in mathematics. And one of them is called the number phi or phi, depending on how you pronounce the Greek letter. And the interesting thing is, this is the one that is tied to the golden mean. And it's tied into, you need it, for example, to draw a pentagon, a 5 or a 5-pointed star properly. You need this irrational number to do it. I believe it's also tied in with the Fibonacci series. It also appears all over the place in nature. So petals on a rose, branches coming out from a tree. When you take large statistical sets of data of the distribution of these things on plants, it approaches, like in an asymptote, it approaches closer and closer to this irrational, non-terminating, non-repeating number phi. And the thing that's interesting is, like, if you imagine a tree that had, like, a repeating pattern of branches, the branches would overlap and block each other from rain and sunlight. So you actually need the most random arrangement possible to get the most optimum absorption of energy possible. And the thing that's cool about this number phi is, mathematically speaking, and this is based on a book that I've read. I'm not a mathematician, but I've read the books by mathematicians and I trust what they're saying, is that not only is this number irrational, it's great. It is the most irrational number we have. So it is the furthest away from ever repeating or ever terminating. It is the most chaotic in a way that you could have. And at the same time, the equation for it is the simplest equation of all the irrational numbers. And I'm like, okay, hang on. The simplest equation and is the most irrational is the one that nature uses to grow the most. And I am like, okay, that for me means that my structured plan of the future is not going to be the most optimal path. The most optimal path is going to find that flow state that I'm in, where I'm spontaneously finding the most optimal thing to do next. And I have to trust, and this is a huge act of trust, is I have to trust this spontaneous emergence that's happening out of me the entire time. So yeah, thanks for letting me share in the geeky mathematics thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting speaking to that duality of like numbers, science, math being so rational, and then nature utilizing it, but in its own special and kind of crazy and chaotic way. And so
Yeah.
there's a lot of utility in that. And your reasoning for that really reminds me of just like kind of what I've been talking about is just like being a little more like open to this stuff and just letting
Yeah.
life just flow. And so that's really cool. It's really cool. So another piece that I wanted to bring to the table on the dating topic and like again like that duality of like you were talking about like men, structured framework, stuff like that. There's this rational side of the duality that we have, and then also the chaotic side, emotional side of a woman. I feel like for me, I really wanted to be seasoned and I wanted to put in some like intentional work on just like being single and focusing on myself and just getting myself good before any of this other stuff. And I read a book, Single on Purpose, John Kim. I think I might have talked to you about that, but
I'm not familiar with it. Tell me a little about it.
he was basically kind of saying that like it really felt like he was speaking to me in the sense of like there's nothing wrong with like being single, even though there might be feelings of like inadequacy or like nobody wants me, like blah blah blah. Like this kind
Mm-hmm.
of reassurance, but also like how there's like these familial patterns that play into relationships and how like stuff might not work out and how it hasn't in the past and how you could prepare for like the next one
Mm-hmm.
basically and be
Mm-hmm.
secure like within yourself. And so that's been all good. That's been all dandy. And it's kind of made me realize the last relationship I was in was probably not the healthiest for me. And just to speak a little bit to that, I thought before I read this book, I thought it was a great relationship because we
Mm.
did not really argue. We maybe had like one argument, but it wasn't that significant. And upon reading a little bit more about this book and reflecting on the things my ex would tell me, I feel like her being a people pleaser, she didn't really want to bring up any sort of conflict because she was afraid of me leaving. And
That I was hoping you would use the word conflict because yeah.
yeah, and so something I want to keep in mind for the next relationship is like the security thing, the sense of belonging that I kind of shared about earlier, but also I think the way a woman puts out to me is very important too, because I think before it was almost like a comforting thing in the sense of like if if I was like feeling weak or if I wasn't like doing good or literally whenever she would just give it to me. But I feel like hold it like being able to like have control of like my own tendencies is one thing for sure. And like but I feel like on from the woman's point of view, like there should be a balance of like, am I in the doghouse? It should like I shouldn't be getting the cookie just because.
Right. I think you lost me at the end there where you were talking about her feeling like she's in the doghouse. So she's doing things. Can you
Like
just maybe repeat that for me? Yeah.
like maybe if I'm doing something that and this is just me like playing off of like the last relationship I had and like what I'm looking for in the future, but like if there's something she finds like upsetting or that she's not liking that I'm doing, like I'd rather her be honest and like
Okay.
talk about it rather than
Yeah.
just like me get this external reward and thinking like everything.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, if she's being kind to you to make everything, if she's people pleasing, so everything can get back to just like a smooth sailing, like you said, like you never had any fights. But there are things happening under the surface. I would say it's limiting the intimacy that you're able to have with each other because conflict. So first of all, like we experience conflict in ourselves. Like as I discover myself, as I deal with my past, if I as I start to let myself really explore what I've never admitted to myself, what I've never let myself do, all of those things, like I'm experiencing conflict on my own. I'm having small, medium, maybe sometimes large crisis moments in myself. And I think the whole point of the relationship is to be able to have those first person experiences where I'm dealing with conflict on my own, but I don't actually have to do it alone. There's somebody else there that cares about me. And I'm able to share the conflict that I'm going through internally in their presence. And just them being there, listening, saying, it's okay, Dallas. What you're going through is maybe I don't even understand it, but your heart's in the right place. So you don't have to beat yourself up about it. Like, let it, process it, go through what you need to go through. Having somebody else there when you're doing it is incredibly useful. But the point is, like, if you're growing as a person, you're going to experience conflict within yourself. Okay, you got another person in the relationship. They're hopefully doing something similar. And they've got their own conflict that's coming on, stuff that's coming up. And I don't understand the context for it. I don't understand where it's coming from. I don't understand why it's so important to them. For me, that's easy. But for them, it's like really, really hard. And then I need to be the one that is actually holding space for them while they're doing that. I'm the one that's letting them go through whatever it is that they need to go through. And I don't even need to understand what they're going through. I don't need them to explain it to me. I just need to know that they're going through something and that I'm the guy with the job of being with them in the room and making them hear, but mostly feel that they're okay. I'm not going to run away on them. I'm not going to suddenly decide that they're a bad person and I'm going to ditch them, because that's our big fear when we share all the conflict and stuff inside, is that people are going to they're going to book it and we're going to be back to being alone, which is why we don't share it. And why we people please instead and keep this surface level. So again, that's conflict. Fighting is something different. If you're trying to hurt each other, that's a whole different thing. That's not conflict. That's attacking. That's hostility, inter-hostility. Not a good thing. That kind of fighting in a relationship, I don't understand. I understand that it comes up. I do not accept it as a normal part of a healthy relationship. I just don't. Conflict, however, is a normal part of a healthy relationship. And if I'm experiencing conflict within myself because I'm growing, and the other person is experiencing conflict within themselves because they're growing, okay, so we already got two first-person sets of conflict that are happening. Well, and then we're experiencing life together. We're doing things. We're probably going to experience some conflict with each other. At the beginning of the relationship, we project onto them this fantasy of perfection, and that's going to drift away and everything. And then the real person's going to come out, and the conflicts will become apparent. Well, the conflicts that you have in the relationship, that is the opportunity for growth. The conflict inside of myself, that is a natural part of the growth. It's a requirement. It's a prerequisite for growth. It is the process of growth in itself is conflict. It's breaking it apart so that the new thing can grow out. Well, in the relationship, me and this other person together, the conflict is the relationship that we had has to kind of break, because that conflict that's there is coming out. Now, either we go to separate corners and we fight with each other, and it's a violent sort of interaction that we're having, or the conflict comes up, the conflict pushes on the surface, it cracks it, and then there's a new relationship that can emerge out of it. And that new relationship is going to be more intimate. It's going to be closer. It's also going to be more exciting. It's going to have chemistry. I mean, the sex that you're going to have after you've had these, oh my gosh, is that really what you want? Boy, I was so afraid to say that. And now you've shared it and you're there and you're like, okay, we need to go to the bedroom now and celebrate. There is a whole new level that comes out. When people are just people pleasing, we never get that. There's a status quo level that never gets breached. The conflict breaches that, and there is an emergence of new life that can come out in the relationship when you're doing it. Why would you not want that? I mean, it's terrifying. It's scary. But the thing that's scary is the fact that it's alive. And it's honestly, it's once you sort of start to experience it, you're like, okay, it's a little scary, but wow, it's a high. This is an amazing thing. And you get to a quote unquote healthier place in the relationship. And what I mean when I'm saying that in that particular context is the conflict is the result of some crappy feelings inside, feelings of resentment, feelings of things that I don't like, but I'm not sharing, which is ultimately dishonesty. I'm not being transparent and honest with them. And when I keep those to myself, they bottle up and they turn dark. They putrefy. They are not happy things. A healthy relationship does not put crap like that in jars. A healthy relationship takes the lids off, spills the contents out on the table. We all look at it and go okay, so what do we do with this? And again, once you've done it and you're in a relationship with somebody else that's willing to work through the mess and willing to let these things out, you get to a cleaner place and you get to a place where you just love each other more. And then you feel lucky that you're with a person that's willing to do this with you. And you're like, all right, game on. Like, where are we going to go next? Yeah.
Straight up. Yeah. That stuff could be really scary, but bringing it up and having that conflict could strengthen it. Strengthens a relationship for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think that might be my whole life. Those were all my
today.
queries.
Tomorrow, there's a whole new life.
Definitely.
The random number comes into play, and there's a whole new life to look at. God, I love that. The fact that like we can figure it out today, and then tomorrow we wake up and we're like, hang on, what's going on? I thought I had it all figured out yesterday. And today you have to like struggle through the conflict of the first person relationship with yourself again. But that just means that like you get to win again, that you get to break through and have that fresh version of yourself emerge out of yesterday's version. Dude, if you get to do that over and over and over again in life, like there's a cost, but my gosh, there's a reward. Like that is such a rewarding place to be as a human.
Yeah, definitely. That's life. Always developing, always changing, for sure.